A lot of you are asking, where are the assistant coaches for West Virginia basketball? Well, do not panic. We're here to ease your mind tonight and let you know everything is going to be okay. And we're bringing on a very special guest to do that, and we're going to do that on this live edition of
Hoops from the Hills.
What is Up, guys. This is Couz and Mountaineer Paul, and we are here with another live edition of Hoops from the Hills. We thank you for joining the show tonight. We have a very special guest on the show tonight who's been gracious enough to join us, give us a little bit of his time, and he's going to let us know a little bit about Coach Darian Devries, how he builds a program, why he may be taking his time and doing things in a strategic way to build his staff and his roster. And then we're going to get a little bit of maybe even some background info on the Devries family and on Coach Devries. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Dusty Devries, the brother of Darian Devries. Dusty, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, happy to be on.
Absolutely, man. Again, thank you for being gracious with your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Just to get things started, let's just break the ice a little bit with something simple. Can you just let us get to know a little bit about the DeVries family? How were you guys brought up? And a little bit about Darren and what Mountaineer fans can expect from him.
Well, we grew up in a small town called Appleton, Iowa. Kind of like a lot of people that grow up in the country, you're spending a lot of time outside and messing around and playing sports with your neighbors and riding four-wheelers and, fighting with your siblings. And Darren didn't do a lot of that because he was smaller than everybody else. So he kind of fell in line where he needed to be, I would say.
Yeah.
But just a normal childhood, hardworking parents, and we just did normal things.
Sounds a lot like growing up in West Virginia, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a little bit. There's some woods involved and some rivers and stuff like that. So
awesome.
Yeah,
good deal. I think you'll fit right in West Virginia, to be honest, just based on what little bit I know about the state of Iowa and based on what you just said. I think you'll be a great fit in Morgantown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll probably be locked into his office or his basement for the next 6-7 months. But
right.
After that, when he can get out and
mm-hmm.
Relax a little bit, then yeah, he'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and talking to you yesterday on the phone, we had a great conversation. I kind of got some insight into just how much of a worker he is. You said if he could, he would watch film 24 hours a day. Can you talk a little bit about that work ethic from Coach? You've seen it firsthand. He was very gracious to you and your brother. I know a lot of you guys were in a lot of the practices, different things like that. So you guys really had a firsthand look and got to know the assistant coaches they had, the players. This is everything I've read and seen. This is a really, really high work, like not normal work ethic.
No, as far as the basketball side of it goes, Darren is a film rat or junkie. Um, he watches film all the time, too much in my opinion, but hard to argue with the results. Yeah, he just loves being around basketball. I mean, he's always in the gym, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do. Contrary to maybe public opinion on what he should do, and I know fans have the right to guess what's going on, but he's pretty regimented and strict on what he wants to do in his plan, and he's just going to do whatever it takes to get that done and execute that.
Talking to Jared, the reason I brought that up is because he brought up, he just mentioned a couple different times. It comes from how you were raised, different things, the way that the family is, especially the toughness that you guys seem to all have about you. Jared obviously was a stud, no doubt about that. He said he had to put everybody. I'm assuming he put people in their place quite often. At least let him tell it. That's what he said.
Yeah, well, of course he would say that.
That's what I was trying to get out of you.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to challenge him. I was about 5 years younger than that, so I even took my lumps from Darren when I was younger. He used to pick on me pretty good, but when I got to college, that ended quickly, and he kind of fell back into place as far as the physical aspect of it. But yeah.
So, what about your athletic background? I know we haven't really got into that, Eddie, and if you have one, I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, I went to Iowa for 2 years on a scholarship, and then I ended up transferring to Northern Iowa and played football there. And that's basically it.
That's pretty impressive.
Not as successful as Jared, but
hey,
I gave the old college try.
Hey, there's a very small percentage of the population that get to play college football. So
yeah,
you're one of those,
especially at Iowa.
one of the few. Yeah, especially at that level. Correct.
No doubt.
So yeah, that's success in my book. But yet, I wasn't able to join the show with Jared. I had COVID, unfortunately, during that time. So I was not up to getting on a show that day. But
I watched it. So I told my sons today, I said, all I care about is I want more views than Jared, and I'll be happy.
Well, we'll try our best, man. Sometimes the YouTube algorithm is tricky, but we're going to try our best.
Yep.
But now it's speaking of athletic background. So, and I think you kind of touched on it. You were a football player. Jared was a football player, and Dusty, and you've mentioned it a couple different times already. He kind of got the he didn't hit the DNA lottery. So with his size, right? So he had to stick with basketball. Is that basically how it turned out?
Well, yeah, he'll probably say he was just a little smarter than the rest of us. So, he chose a least more physical path, I would say.
There you go.
He was a pretty decent high school football player, but he was much better at basketball.
Good deal. Can you talk a little bit about, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but a little bit more in depth maybe about, the fans, some of the fans. I think most fans understand it takes time, but there's a few fans that are getting nervous maybe a little bit about, not having the staff put together and all that. But he's obviously been successful at Drake. Can you touch a little bit on how how he's built rosters at Drake and some of the successes he's had there, and experiences he's had building staffs from the ground up, so to speak? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll just talk about his first year at Drake, and this might give Mountaineer fans a little more anxiety, but he went there and they needed to get 14 players, and he had one assistant named Matt Woodley that he did a lot of the recruiting with. And I'm not sure the timeline as far as if he got 3 players and then he got another assistant, but I know he had gotten some players before he got some other coaches on staff there. But they ended up getting 12 players that first year. And the second year, I think he had to get 6. And then this last year, he had 10 new players. So, he's used to dealing with this stuff and building programs from the ground up. And, West Virginia is not from the ground, but just a tough year last year.
Right. Yeah. It kind of is. Let's face it. Right now we've got 3 players on the roster, 3 scholarship players, and that's assuming they stay. They may hit the portal too. Who knows? That's none of us ever know what's going to happen there. So essentially, he's going to be kind of starting over.
Yeah. I think what's interesting in the college landscape right now is it's such a revolving door, because I don't remember a time this late in the season where guys like Cal Perry are taking these big jobs, and then there's such a domino effect with coaches and the players. And there's so many guys entering the portal every single day that it takes a lot of time. And I know specifically watching Darian in the past that he's going to do things the way he thinks it needs to be done. And he's going to be patient with it. He's not going to just recruit guys because they're number 4 ranked in the portal or whatever. He's going to try and construct a team that fits together. You can't have 5 guys that can't dribble, or vice versa, whatever. You have to find pieces that are going to fit, and then you also have to find guys that are willing to share the basketball and play as a team, and that's what he's trying to do, I think.
Right.
Absolutely. Before we go any farther, Dusty, we have to acknowledge our sponsor, our tribal chief, Dutch Miller Automotive. So if you don't mind, let us do that. Pause.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
And just as a reminder, they do have locations outside the state of West Virginia, so go to DutchMillerAuto.com. They may have one near you. And thanks again to them for sponsoring our show and helping us keep the lights on.
Yep.
And I like Dusty's reference there. I can tell he's a wrestling guy. He knew how to acknowledge the tribal chief.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, so I'm well aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is we're going in a totally different direction here. Okay. But who cares? I got to ask, did you watch WrestleMania?
I did. Parts of it, not all of it.
What'd you think?
I thought it was awesome, but I don't watch. I used to watch a lot more wrestling than I do now. I probably know more about the WWE from the Pat McAfee show. So, right. I know he's plugged West Virginia here the last few days and coached, and I'm waiting for him to have on, or maybe he could make a nice little donation to West Virginia, the basketball program.
Let's hope so.
The best thing that Coach Devries could ever do is form a relationship with Pat McAfee, because the last few coaches, there was a past there, even with Bob Huggins, because he had never invited him in for so long. I think Pat's one of those guys that he's very stubborn, very. So, especially, and I hate to say it like this, but especially if they win, he'll be involved, because he loved to, just like with Texas and Chris Beard, he did that big promo for them. He enjoys being in the limelight. That's very well known. And he loves West Virginia. A little bit of background you may not know about, or you may. I don't want to take your away from you, but he missed 2 kicks that would have sent us to the national championship game in a game.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of it.
Oh yeah, because you watch the show.
Yeah, he references it quite often. So I know the story behind it.
Okay, cool.
I told. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Well, I told Coach when he got the job, I said, I do watch the Pat McAfee show quite a bit. So win or lose, you're probably going to be on there. So, make the family proud here, and let's do some good things at West Virginia.
That's really hitting it big right there, But I think, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done. And a lot of the people that are there at West Virginia when that happened aren't even there anymore, all the way up to the AD, president, all gone. There's a few people probably still hanging around, but it's mostly new people. All the coaches are different, assistants, players. So I think now is the time. And West Virginia sports on both sides, at least from my little way, my vantage point's in a good spot. Football is possibly. I mean, they were a fourth quarter and a Hail Mary away from 11 wins last year, and so they returned everybody. Outside of the best center in the country, which is a big deal. But so we're excited about it. So I think it's a good time to be a West Virginia fan. We did get off on a little tangent there, Couz. Get us back on track.
Hey, that's okay. No worries.
Also, you all can ask questions down there if you want. Whether it's super chat or if we see a good one, we'll pull it up. If you have anything for Dusty or about Coach Devries and the family, surely ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to make sure we see it. And Paul mentioned the super chat. If you leave a super chat by hitting the $ and then putting a comment, it highlights it for us. And it's a good way to support the show here. But just talking, I know we talked a little bit about the building the team and all that. What's Darren's Coach DeVries? I should call him Coach DeVries, I guess, out of respect. What's Coach DeVries' strategy when it comes to building a staff, you think?
Oh, that's one I probably wouldn't be able to answer because I don't really talk to him about it that much. I'm that's more, fair. privy to the players and kind of
Okay.
what style he wants to play. But as far as the coaches, I don't know. I never really ask him about it. So,
But he's had to build staffs before, right? I mean, it's not new to him.
yeah, I think 5 out of 6 years that he was at Drake, he had one of his assistants went on to a Power 5 program
Okay.
and got an assistant job, and just that's kind of the way it was. So he's used to finding staff too, and that means that you're hiring good guys when when other teams are trying to pluck them away.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And obviously the results speak for themselves, like you mentioned earlier in the show. I mean, he's won 20 games, I think, every year that he's been there. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
and that's
I always say
that's hard to
he
do.
averaged about 24, because if you take that 120 season out, it really is about 24 wins a year, truthfully.
Yeah, I think that's the year that, don't quote me on this, but I think they lost 3 of their starters that year.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that yesterday.
The first 4 years, he had anywhere from 1 to 3 starters that were out for the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. And then the last 2 years, they've been relatively healthy outside of, maybe a shoulder issue or something.
The shoulder hurt around Morgantown. Tucker Devries.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Obviously Mountaineer Nation is excited to get your nephew. Can you talk a little bit about his game, what he does well, what makes him such a good player? And most people, it's not just 1 or 2 people. The majority of people that watch basketball say that's an NBA prospect. What makes Tucker an NBA prospect in your mind?
Well, I think he's just different than a lot of players today. There's really not anything that he can't do. I mean, he can shoot it from the mid-range. He can fade away. He can post basket. He didn't do as much as that this year with the shoulder. And then obviously he can shoot the 3. And I think the game just slowed down for him so much that, he makes everybody around him better and understands what his role is. The first couple of years when Roman was there, he was the main ball handler. And then this last year, he kind of had to do that early in the season and be a little more of a distributor. So he's just grown, and I think West Virginia is going to be really happy with him.
It's looking more and more like a couple of players that are going to be coming along with Tucker, namely Attenwright, namely Connor Enright. Both will be visiting this week in weekend. Can you talk a little bit about them too? Because you were telling me yesterday some stuff about Enright I had no idea about. I didn't realize he was regarded as such a good defender.
Yeah, I was telling you the story about the NCAA tournament where they were interviewing the Washington State head coach at halftime, and he didn't mention anybody else other than Connor, and he said that number 4 is a real pest, and we've kind of seen that for the last 2 years. I mean, that guy will get in you and get after you, and he gets under people's skin. I would not like to play against him, but I'm glad he's on our team. He was on the Drake team at least, and sometimes you just need a guy. Not everybody can shoot the ball 20 times a game. You only have so many possessions, and you need guys like that. Connor's not a volume shooter, so he could probably score more points somewhere else or whatever that these last couple of years, but that's not what they asked him to do, and he does what he's asked to do very well. So yeah, Connor's great. He was Tucker's roommate, so
Awesome.
I know him very well.
Awesome.
We do have a couple questions that I want to address here that I think are good questions. Well, Civil Mark, West Virginia says, I like to call the new coach Double D. Did he have a nickname as a kid? I think I know the answer to that, but I wanted to hear it from you, Dusty.
Well, he's had several. It just depends on where you're asking me. Dana Altman, I think, started the D-Rock one. I've always called him D for most of my life, I think. And he calls me that back,
Right.
I think we have like 3 or 4 friends. We just call each other D, but I don't know. I rarely call him coach because he's my brother. So it's weird for me to talk about sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. D-Rock, Double D. I've heard them all. I don't think he really cares actually, but if he wins, nobody will care.
Right. Exactly. Got another couple questions here, more specific to basketball and his style. Gamecock Chuck wants to know what kind of stuff. By the way, before I get too far, Gamecock Chuck has a great channel of his own where he covers South Carolina basketball. He covers the South Carolina women's team. Very popular topic right now. Congrats to them, by the way, for winning the national title.
Yeah.
But covers all South Carolina sports, so go check his channel out. But he wants to know, what style of offense does he like to run, and is it more up tempo or is it more of a slow, methodical style?
No, he wants to get up and down the court. Some of that has to depends on how many guys you have available. I think he probably would like to play at a faster pace some of these years, but he just didn't have the guys to do that. I mean, I know one year they did some pressing, but they're trying to get the ball up and down the court, every possession, and they're known for that. And a lot of teams kind of back off and don't allow them to do that. But that's what he wants to do. And then the offense is just, they do a lot of motion and a lot of back cuts, and it's free flowing, and it helps when you got guys that can hit shots.
Absolutely. And that's something you told me yesterday. He's not going to recruit a guy most of the time that can't shoot the ball.
Probably not.
Right.
Not
and that's
not at certain. He's not asking the five guy to, shoot 50% from three, but he wouldn't mind having that. But no,
right.
He likes guys that can put the ball in the hole.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
It's all about efficiency.
And that's a far cry from what we're used to. Like I was telling you, it's just, I mean, we've had, Huggins was more of the kind of guy that he'll take a guy that was advanced on the defensive side and develop his offensive game over 2 or 3 years. And then he's had to, obviously, but a lot of guys had to change when the portal became a 1-year stop, basically, for a lot of players. So a lot of guys that were what you consider developers, that portal thing really mucked it up for a lot of people. But yeah, so I mean, personally, I'm glad. I love watching free flowing good offense. And like I was able to catch, like I was telling you, they sold on Amazon a couple books and like DVD sets that Coach Devries had. It was a part. It's some company that they go and they film guys that are renowned for certain things. And one thing that he was renowned for is his 5-out motion fast break that he runs. And it was so awesome, the drill. You've probably seen him do it. The drill they have them do, they have them run down the court and they'll call out different things, and then they'll have to, on the spur of the moment, do that thing and be in different places all at once. I thought it was fascinating to watch. And then somebody asked about the defense as well, which I thought was interesting too. But just your response to that, I guess.
Yeah, I have not seen the video. I mean, I've seen it in person, but I don't know the
That's what I figured.
Ins and outs of it all. But ultimately, I mean, what he hangs his hat on is simple things that they can control. I mean, you're not always going to shoot it well. You're not, but he hangs his hat on defense and guys being disciplined and boxing out and, not turning the ball over. You can control those things and limit possessions for the other team. And, if you got to go up against a bigger team, you got to limit possessions for them. So, you got to get in there and rebound and stick your nose in there. And they weren't the tallest team, but, they'll always fight. And they take on his personality, I would say.
That's basically the mark of a West Virginia. I mean, that's most of the successful coaches that West Virginia has had has been that type of coach, whether it be Beeline, Huggins, Rodriguez in football, whatever. It's guys that they have a similar identity as a state, and then they get their players to take on that same identity, if that makes sense. Hard-nosed, blue-collar type stuff. So, again, I think he's a great fit. I think you kind of addressed the defense there a little bit in that answer. So, but Krista had asked about what kind of defense he runs.
He likes to run man to man.
Yeah, he's like 98% man. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, I've heard some people call it a pack line type defense, similar to what Virginia runs. Would you call it that?
Not specific. I think it depends on his personnel. If he
Right.
has a rim protector, then I don't know this for a fact, so I don't want to get myself in trouble.
I get it.
I understand your position.
But I think if he had a rim protector, then he would probably play a little bit looser. It just depends on his personnel. I would assume.
Yeah.
If he's got perimeter guys that can stay in front of people, or he's going to do whatever he has to do to make the team as most successful as possible with the guys that he's got.
One thing I thought was interesting in the videos that I watched was on the screens on the defensive side. They just tell him to get through the screen. It's not necessarily go under or go over. It's get through it. I found that to be interesting too.
Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't care how it gets done. He just wants it done. And I've only been to a couple practices, and I've never seen that side of him. But he'll demand you to get it done, and or you won't play. So
right,
yeah,
that's kind of how he operates with on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
Mm-hmm. Timothy Green, who's one of our loyal listeners here, he says he says thank you very much for doing the show, Dusty, and he's enjoyed listening to you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Enjoyed
being on here.
Yeah, speaking of that, by the way, for those of you who might just be joining us, this is Dusty Devries. This is the brother of West Virginia's new basketball coach, men's basketball coach, Darian Devries. We're learning a little bit about Darian, his childhood, where he grew up, and then obviously the kind of coach he is as far as his style and how he builds a roster and things like that. Trying to make fans feel a little bit more comfortable about. Some fans are getting antsy thinking it's taking too long, but we want to make them understand that he has a method, he has a strategy, and he's doing what he feels is best, and he's going to implement his strategy. And I harken back to when I first started my job that I have now, my day job. The boss who hired me, he used to always have this saying, "Speed kills." He would rather do something slow, methodical, but do it right, than just hurry up and get it done and then screw it up. So.
Yeah, I think
certain times in life you need to be slow and methodical.
Yeah, reflecting back to some of the fan interactions, when he first started at Drake, they're very similar to, what they are now. But I would say that he'll probably tell you that you're not gonna remember the recruiting process or the coaching process as long as he's winning basketball games.
Yep.
So. Yeah. He doesn't really get into the social media stuff that much because he's so busy, trying to construct a team. But yeah, he's going to take his time to get the guys that he wants in there and guys that fit. He's not just good. He's not putting together an all-star team where guys don't work together and fit together. Mm-hmm. He's trying to construct something for, long term.
Right.
Makes a ton of sense.
Well said.
There's a couple comments here I'm just going to run through. I think they're all really good. Andrew Smith said, "I'm behind Coach Devries. He's got a lot to do here. Everyone needs to be patient. And hey, Dusty, welcome to West Virginia and let's go." Daddy Longleg said, "I'm rooting for Devries. I'm tired of people saying we're going to suck because we're losing 3 players who weren't very good anyways. Let's let Coach do his job." And then Civil Mark wants to know, "Dusty, will you attend any games in West Virginia?" I think you will.
Oh, absolutely. I'll get out to as many games as I can. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't in his contract that he was going to, fly the jet out and pick us up every week. But
yeah, what happened with that?
Yeah,
come on,
didn't get put in there. I looked for it, but
he didn't negotiate hard enough, did he?
I've also been telling him for a long time. I said, you can put me in your back pocket for a coaching hire, but he hasn't responded for 6 years on that either.
Not yet. Do you coach any
frustrated Mountaineer fans?
Do you do any coaching?
Yeah, I did some high school football coaching.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
Good deal. Family of coaches, man. That's pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, my sister just won a state championship in volleyball coaching this last year.
Awesome.
And Jarrett coached at Clear Lake. They've made the state finals it's not state finals, but state playoffs a few times. So.
Oh, that's probably a Hawkeye factory there.
Clear Lake, yeah, right.
Yeah. If anybody gets in there, they've got to go through the Hawkeyes first, I'm sure. For the players.
You would think so. I know they just signed somebody there this year, so A tight end from Clear Lake is going to Iowa.
Cool.
Awesome. That's cool.
What one of the things that I was wanting to ask you, by the way, everybody, don't forget to check out Dusty on social media. He does have an X account at Dusty Devries. Pretty simple. Actually, I think it's Dusty _ Devries, isn't it?
I have no idea. I don't post a lot about the basketball team on there, so if you want
there
to
it
get
is.
insight
At Dusty _
information.
Devries. At Dusty _ Devries. That's it. I knew I had it on the
Our
screen.
fan base just is supportive, man. It's really, me for inside info, I don't think. It's just people just because you're connected, man, we just have a super supportive fan base. I was telling you about the North Carolina game. We just kind of go all out. Very similar to Iowa, really.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that Darren loved about West Virginia. It was the fan base, and he understands that, not everybody's going to agree with everything that he does and how he recruits. But at the end of the day, he's just trying to win games, and, he's going to do everything he can to do that. And, he might not want me to say this, but I'll say it anyway for him. He didn't go to West Virginia to finish 8th any year he's ever there. I mean, he's trying to make the NCAA tournament and go as far as he can. So,
right.
If people just think that he wants to finish middle of the pack this year, that's just not how he operates.
Right. And he obviously feels like he can do that at West Virginia, or he wouldn't have taken the job. That's another thing that people need to understand. I'm sure Dusty's. I'm sure Coach DeVries has had other opportunities at other places, but he felt like West Virginia was a fit, and it's a place he wanted to be because he feels like he can win there. I would imagine. Is that an accurate statement?
He's got a very specific thing that he wants to see in a program, and he's not just taking any job. And it has to fit what he likes to do, and the fan base and just the community, how they treat each other, and how they interact with the program. And there's a lot that goes into it that not every program does.
Right.
Yeah.
You think he obviously he's your brother, so you know him, but do you think he's prepared to be a celebrity? Because that's pretty much what he's going to be for the next several years.
The whole family kind of is in the state of Iowa. I don't know why, but
that's true.
I think he's
point.
dealt with it. I mean, Jared and going to the NFL, it's just he doesn't think about that stuff a lot. He doesn't have time for that, and but no, that won't bother him.
Yeah,
I love the humility.
I do too. You can't go to the grocery store. He won't be able to go to the grocery store anymore without people coming up and having a conversation with him.
It's over with.
He didn't before, so don't worry about it.
And
his wife does a lot of the stuff, so
that's
he's engulfed in basketball. You'll see him on a golf course, but just don't stand in front of him because it's dangerous. Just make sure you're behind him.
Okay. Great answer. I love it. I've got a question here from Gamecock Chuck again. He says, outside of basketball traits, what is one thing coach looks for in a recruit? It's a good question.
I would say toughness. Toughness and unselfishness. He's got to have unselfish players, and he's got to have guys that are willing to get down, get gritty, and get after it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the two things that he's going to look for. And, obviously if you can score the ball a little bit, but he looks at character before he'll look at anything else, because he can coach guys with character, but you can't teach character a lot of times. So
right, especially at that level. I mean, they're already young men at that point, right? So it's
yeah, absolutely.
I get it. Marcus and Moto says, I guess this is a golf course he's referring to. He says, got to get our boy a membership out at Pikewood National. I've not heard of that one.
Well, get him some lessons too while you're at it, if you can. I'll tell you a competitive story. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. We're out in the golf course and we're warming up, and he's standing there on one leg doing this drill. And my younger brother and I were there, and we're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I looked this up on YouTube or whatever. This is supposed to help me do this. And we're like, hey, whatever you do on your own time is fine, but you're not doing that out here with us. So you better knock that off. but he'll try anything to get better. I mean, if he's
I
gonna
hear you.
look like an idiot out there on one leg doing warm-ups, I mean, whatever it takes to get better, I guess.
That's hilarious.
That is funny. I'm trying to picture that. I haven't played golf in a while, but I used to.
He's not gonna like me saying that. He probably won't talk to me for a while, but he wasn't gonna anyway, so
I hear you.
it doesn't really matter.
I got you. But I'm trying to picture somebody on a golf course jumping up and down on one leg.
No, he's just standing on one leg,
I'll
swinging
stand
a
on
golf
one
club.
leg. I'll stand on one leg, swinging a golf. I got you.
If he was
Yeah.
hopping, I probably would have tackled him.
That's funny.
So you were
We
a
gotta-
defensive player then?
Yeah. Defensive end.
All right, got a couple super chats here. Thank you, David Cummings, for the $5 super chat. He says, "Thank you, Dusty, for becoming so involved in answering these questions. It's great to see family supporting family. Welcome to the WVU family."
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, David. It is pretty cool. I was telling Paul, I said, man, this must be a really tight-knit family because Jared has been supportive. You've been supportive. And it's not something you see all the time. You know, people coming out and going on shows and promoting their siblings and their family like that. That's pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, I would say our best friends are in our immediate family, brothers and sisters.
That's
so
awesome.
We talk a lot. Not right now with Darren, but
Right.
we will eventually.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome to see. My family, unfortunately, I grew up in a family that's not, I mean, we love each other, but we're just not real close for various reasons. But so it's cool to see that. And we've tried to, my wife and I have tried to make our family, my kids, we want our kids to grow up like that. Being best friends, you know? So that's cool.
No, it's a lot of fun. I'm sure after we get off here, one of my family members will call and critique what I said or how I did on the show.
Yeah, Gerald will probably give you hell over something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Jacob Yoho with super chat as well. He says that golf he plays is that putt. LOL.
That's what he needs to play.
That's hilarious, man.
Marcus and Moto's listing off some golf courses here. He says there's one called Nemacolin Woodlands, two Nemacolin and Woodlands, two world-class courses, amazingly beautiful place.
Well,
I guess he's talking
about the Greenbrier even, you know?
Well, but the Greenbrier is a good 3 hours away. I think he's talking about stuff closer to Morgantown. But the Greenbrier, definitely. The Greenbrier is obviously a world-class course, yes.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of some of the golf courses around there, and they look awesome. They wouldn't suit my game either. They're a little tight fairways, and I need the fairways to be a little wider.
I hear you. I like those wide fairways too.
Yeah.
I need a fairway about as wide as a interstate.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Civil Mark says he's talking Pinewood National is a very private golf course. So yeah, we done got it's Masters week. I guess everybody's got golf on the brain, right?
Absolutely.
Well, this is a question you may or may not be able to answer. May not even know the answer. And if you do, I don't know if you can say it. But he said Tosh wants to know, as Darren mentioned, being impressed with any current players on the roster.
No, I haven't talked to Darren, so I wouldn't even know that answer. So
gotcha.
He went down to the foxhole, as the way you put it, basically.
Yes, that's what he's doing.
He's a little
watching
busy
film,
right now.
I'm sure.
Yep. I mean, he's hiring a staff, recruiting, portal and high school guys probably. Plus, he's still trying to learn the lay of the land, I'm sure, in Morgantown. Get to know all the staff and, employees of the university and all that stuff. So I can't imagine his life's probably a whirlwind right now. Plus, trying to get his family moved in is probably taking, I'm sure that's on his mind as well.
Yeah, I don't think they're moving down there until after
Okay.
His daughter Tatum gets out of school, but
Gotcha.
I don't know that for sure.
That makes sense. That's kind of what Ren Baker did the same thing when he took the job as AD last year.
Yeah.
Once his kids got out of school, then they moved over the summer.
So you mentioned you had a couple kids there. Were you still talking to? I'm sorry.
No, I can. What I got can wait. It's no big deal. Go ahead.
Do your kids play ball or any sports or anything? I'm sure.
Yeah, my 14-year-old Ralston is obsessed with basketball. So he said his dream would either to play for Drake or to play for Darren. So I'm sure it's wherever
Cool.
Uncle Darren is. It had nothing to do with
Right.
Drake, but yeah, he loves playing basketball, and
That's awesome.
the other one likes
Is he-
to do the stuff that you're doing. So he's very intrigued by me being on here. He wants to
Oh,
get
really?
into podcasts, and
Awesome.
yeah, his name's Rory.
How old is
He
he?
was
said he's-
excited for me to get on here.
You said he's 18.
18?
He's 18. Yep.
Cool.
No, we never know. Might be able to have him on and let him.
Yeah.
I mean, he can come on sometime. You know, if he wants
Well, I
to
should
hang out
have
or
went in
whatever.
his studio because he's got his own setup, just like you guys. So
Oh,
Wow.
I should
okay.
just went over there and got into it, but
Does he have his own? Does he have his own show already?
no.
Okay,
He has clips on the internet that he does, but I don't know what they're
got
under.
I got you.
He probably wouldn't be happy
Okay.
if I shared that.
That's cool. That's no worries. No worries at all. Hey, but if he ever wants to, man, we'd love to. We can look. We're not professionals, but we're amateurs. But we have been doing it a while, a couple years. So if he ever wants some tips or wants to just chat about it or whatever, what it takes to get into it, or we'd love to help any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the show. You guys are great.
Thank you.
It's fun being on here.
That. We appreciate that. It's we have fun doing it. Paul and I, we started off getting to know each other through this, and I talk to him more than I do my own family most of the time. So
Yeah.
we've become
It's
pretty
true.
close.
Yeah.
But the only thing I was going to say, just you mentioned Drake, and it made me think of, man, the Drake fan base online has, at least the ones I've interacted with, have been awesome people. Like they have been nothing but gracious. That they're all talking about how they've now become West Virginia fans because they love Coach Devries so much. They want him to win and be successful. They were obviously understanding about him leaving. Just all of that, and I just have nothing but positive things to say about the people in the Drake fan base. It's been pretty remarkable to see how they reacted to him taking this job.
Yeah, they've been awesome. I haven't seen anything negative either, and I think it's a
Not one
testament
thing.
to Coach getting out in the community and being a part of it. And then obviously when you're winning games, it's hard to be mad at somebody to take a job that can further their career. It's just like guys that left Drake, or Darren was never mad at him for wanting to go play Power 5 or whatever. It's just
Right.
it happens.
Right.
You're going to get guys
Yeah.
that leave, and you're going to get guys that come in, and that's just part of it.
Yeah.
What kind of player was Yosefu for Drake? Am I saying his last name right? Is that how it's pronounced?
Joey
Joseph.
Yesu?
Yeah.
Yesu.
What kind of player was he? What kind of player was he when he was at Drake? Was he like a star? I know he went to Kansas, and I figured that he must have been pretty good if he was at Drake before then.
Well, he wasn't playing a whole lot, and that was one of the years that a lot of guys went down. Tank Hempel went down. He was our starting forward. I think one of our guards went down. So he kind of played out of necessity, and they were only 6 deep, so he played a lot, and he kind of just took off in that role. He's an explosive player. I mean, he really flourished in it, and then he started to shoot the ball really well at the end of the season, and I think that's one thing that West Virginia will love is Darren does develop players too. They're going to get better while they're there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's plain to see. It's one of my points about a lot of people looked at the Tenor kid and thought about the size. You liked my social media post, and one of the reasons I actually clicked on your profile for the first time was because you'd seen that. But I've made note of this several times now that in the past Darren has gravitated towards at least recruiting a certain type of guard. Usually on the smaller side, but not always. And they usually end up being bucket getters. They're all buckets. You can look back like 3 or 4 guys at least that I can think of that are buckets. Like Gad, right? Sefu, however he says his name, and a myriad of other guys. And so to me, I feel good about that recruiting with Tenor because He's a bucket right now in high school, and he's obviously Mr. Basketball in the state for a reason. And I love the fact that he followed him all the way to West Virginia, even though in my conversation with him, he'd had some other offers, now that because it's one of those things, once you get a Power 5 offer, all other Power 5 schools start saying, oh, maybe he's better than we realized, and start offering. So I'm glad and he said that he believed in him. It's even the kid that's never played for him believes in Coach Devries so much to follow him to another place. So that was cool.
Yeah, I know he loves him quite a bit. He's talked about him for a while and has high hopes for him. And I think he just likes how versatile he is. He can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. He can shoot it. So there's a lot to like about him.
I love he's great off the drill. I was impressed. I hadn't watched 2 minutes of his highlights, and I'm like, this kid can take the ball to the rim.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very good off the dribble. I mean, he can score at all three levels, but his ability to take the ball to the rim is what really stuck out to me originally. And then his quick hands he has really good hands on the defensive end too. Like he's sneaky good on the defensive end.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about him. I know that.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say it's probably his size originally that may have kept some of the bigger schools off of him originally. But I think they're going to regret it because I think he's going to I think he has the potential to be a great player. I really do.
He's already really
we're hoping so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Paul, do you have any other questions for Dusty? We probably need to let him get back to his life.
I think pretty much exhausted all the questions that I could think of. I can always think of another one, though, especially if the super chat comes through.
Yeah. But well, just Dusty, we'll give you a chance to say, is there anything you want to say to Mountaineer Nation, man? Whether it be about Coach Devries or whatever.
From you, yeah.
No, I mean, I think we're all just ecstatic for Coach and the opportunity and the fan base and the people of West Virginia. And I know Darren's super excited about being there. And, as a personal note, just for me to get there and be in the Coliseum, I can't wait. So we're all excited.
Yeah, somebody.
I'd like to meet you down there.
Yeah, maybe we can meet up sometime.
I'll shoot you a text when I'm in town. We'll see if we can't get together.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Somebody left a comment in the chat saying that you're going to love the Coliseum. It's just a magical place.
Yeah, it makes me think of the movie Gladiator, so I'm pretty pumped up about it.
There you go. Pepperoni rolls at $4.99 super chat. Thank you, DJ. That's all that needs to be said. A very short, simple, to the point comment. The one thing you need to know about West Virginia, pepperoni rolls. You've got to try pepperoni roll when you get here. That's
I've heard that.
Very good.
Matter of fact,
very good, especially if you get them at the right place.
Yeah, Coach even mentioned him in his press conference, I think. And I don't know if you're a drinker or not, but we're also known for our moonshine. But that's
okay.
But I can't get you that because I don't know who's got it. It's not usually. It's made in secret here most of the time.
Yeah, I've seen some shows about it, so
Oh, but anyway, Markets and Moto says Tomorrow's Bakery in Clarksburg has the best pepperoni rolls. Clarksburg is a town about 30 minutes south of Morgantown.
Okay. Yeah, I looked online. I think they sell them at gas stations too.
They do.
It's everywhere,
right? They're everywhere.
Yeah,
they sell them at the game.
Different quality at the gas station.
What is a pepperoni roll? What's a real pepperoni roll?
It's basically kind of like a pizza roll, but it's not as it's kind of like a pizza roll, but it's more bread than dough, if that makes sense. It's not like
it's light and flaky. A lot of times,
it's not made like
the
pizza.
Ones I like.
Yeah.
No. There's never usually sauce in it. It's usually just mozzarella, pepperoni, and bread.
Yeah.
But the bread is really high quality most of the time. In the good places you get it from.
Yeah.
And I like mine. Some people like them different. Some people like them crunchy with the bite. I like mine light and flaky. There's a place in where I'm from in Huntington called Big Loafer that makes an incredible pepperoni roll. It's my favorite one ever. They make it homemade right there in front of you with fresh dough. It's extremely good.
Now, and you can get it with some places sell it without the cheese in it. I personally don't like it without the cheese. I think it's too dry. You need that melted cheese in there. But you can get them without. Some people just like pepperoni and bread. So
Yeah.
It's got a cool history behind it, Dusty. As with a lot of foods in America, impoverished
So
people have to be
lunch is for coal miners, wasn't it?
right. Yep, you've done your homework. Yep.
I know.
This is a great description right here. Markets and Moto says, imagine pizza dough mixed with dinner roll type stuff. Lighter, fluffier, not chewy, light, and with a little tiny crisp on the outside. The pepperoni grease makes it crisp up just right.
Okay.
Markets and Motos, I believe he's a chef. The way he wrote that description.
Eric, I'm from Mingo County, West Virginia, in southern West Virginia, but I have lived in the Huntington area for a very long time now, so it's kind of like I'm from both in a way. I've spent most of my adult life since '97 in that area, but I consider myself a Mingo County boy for sure.
He made a comment earlier about, I guess he said, Southern West Virginia better know somebody that makes moonshine. I don't know who makes the moonshine. I just know where to get it from. They don't tell you who makes it. That's the beauty of it. You don't know where it's coming from. You just got to trust it. No, I can't drink it.
Sounds dangerous.
It is dangerous.
This gave me an idea for another.
My wife has forbidden me from drinking it anymore.
There's no reason we shouldn't have a pepperoni roll sponsor on this show.
I've tried. Brother.
Absolutely.
I have tried. Trust me.
Well,
but I've get that and a moonshine sponsor.
But I'll take both. But it's been a while, so we can try again.
Well, seems to be something I'm okay at. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Do it, brother. And Krista just recommended a really good restaurant to you, Dusty. If you like Italian food, you like Italian food?
Absolutely.
Look at him. Heck yeah, he likes Italian food. I like Italian food too, man.
I like to eat.
Hey,
me too.
I've actually been to this place, so I can vouch for Krista's comment. There's a restaurant in Fairmont, West Virginia, which is between Clarksburg and Morgantown. It's probably 20 minutes from Morgantown. It's called Muriel's. Top-notch food. There's also one called Oliverio's, which I highly recommend. There's a lot of Italian food in northern West Virginia, so you're not gonna have a hard time finding an Italian restaurant, I can guarantee it. But Muriel's and Oliverio's are both very good. All right. Anything else, Paul, before we jump off of here?
I think it's a good comment to end it on. Dusty looks like a West Virginia country boy himself. He's sure that guy might have worked on his truck before.
I like that.
And that's that's what I'm saying. That's a compliment, man, for us West Virginians, man. That's cool. That's cool stuff.
And I absolutely agree, Josh. That's one of my favorite meals in the world. Yeah, cornbread and fried potatoes. I love it. All right, let's get off this food subject. You can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong there.
I don't like pinto beans. Sorry. Y'all got me on that one.
You're from the Panhandle.
Huh? I'm not from the Panhandle.
It was a joke.
Oh, I was going to say. I am a Southern West Virginia boy, but I don't like pinto beans. All right. Well, I don't really have anything else.
Appreciate you, Dusty.
Dusty, it's been fun.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
It was fun.
We'll have to do it again
sometime. Absolutely.
Thanks again for coming on, and you enjoy the rest of your night.
Have a good one. Go Mountaineers.
Go Mountaineers. And everybody in the chat, we're done.